Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to today's market color session. My name is Sabi Abi and I'm going to be taking the first half of today's analysis, which will be covering commodity currencies, that's USDCAD, NZUSD, and AUDUSD. Shortly after which, my colleague is going to come on board and do his analysis on indices. So US30, NAS100, and any other asset class is looking at today. He's also going to be touching a bit on fundamentals, so make sure you stay till the end of this analysis. Okay, I see your comments. Good morning, Kolade. Hi, user. Good morning. It's good to have you here. Good morning to the rest of us and also our YouTube community, YouTube community. It's always a nice time having everyone online with us. Before we proceed, I'd like to implore us to please share the link to these market color sessions with a friend. So tell a friend, It is absolutely free. They should come and join us and partake of what we're doing at the VFT Academy, okay? It won't take anything from you, I promise. Just for 2 minutes of your time and you're done. Okay, so now let's get straight into business. By now, I believe you all know that we have different days for different asset classes, hence why we're looking at these asset classes today. So let's look at what AUDUSD has in store for us. We're going to be starting from the H4 time frame as we usually do. So I'm looking at AUDUSD H4 using our all-weather strategy, one of the strategies we teach in our Forex bootcamp course. I understand that not all of us would have the indicators on our chart. That's fine. What you want to do is take note of the price or the zones that I mark out, and then add that to your analysis on the chart and take advantage of what we're sharing here today. Perfect. Okay, so now let us analyze the market. I'm looking at this asset class on the H4, looking at most recent price movement from the 9th of April, and we've been in a predominantly uptrend. Price has been buying for a while all the way to the upside, right? Okay, and as at Tuesday's analysis, we marked out certain points. We showed you level points where we marked out from last week, Thursday, that we bought AUDUSD from. You can see the markup is still there, tapped into that zone and bought all the way up. We then marked out other points of interest. We wanted to see AU right back into and give confirmation for us to continue to buy in sync with what we're seeing on the H4. But price has now traded below and violated one of our zones. So now that the first zone has been violated, we're now watching to see if the next level point is going to hold for us to look for buy opportunities of this particular asset class, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete previous markups from the chart and do a fresh analysis for the sake of today's market color session. So delete all of that and see what we're looking at today. Today now, you can see that price is looking almost choppy on the H1 time frame. For those of us who don't know what choppy means, basically means it looks like it's currently consolidating. So I'm going to still mark out certain points that I want to see breakouts from. This is one point of interest I'm going to be marking out, and the second one is here, in between the momentum and the pullback right here. So is price going to hold at this zone? If not, this is going to break below, give a retest, and start to form structure to the downside. Remember, price is fractal, so whatever the lower time frame do for a long period of time, the higher time frame would eventually catch up with. So yes, I have two perspectives or two buyers on each one. Either you trade below here, find support, give me confirmation to buy in sync with the H4 movement, or you break below and give a retest and start to sell with the H4 eventually catching up. Now that I have the H1 bias in view, I'm going to go ahead to the M5 and mark out 4 basic levels. Really, some of us already know what we mark out every time we use the all-weather strategy. Very repetitive. Yesterday's high and low, right here. And then day before yesterday's high and low as well. So this is day before yesterday's high, drawn into today's price movement, and day before yesterday's low. So price has violated even the M5 movement, giving me view or a perspective that AUDUSD might just be selling a bit lower for a while. I'm going to show you something quickly on Forex performance. Let us see the best performing asset class as at this morning. It makes sense while these guys are dumping. We had a fundamental news release that came out early on AUD, where we had employment change coming out lower than expected. Give me a second while I show you that. I believe you can all see my screen, my browser specifically. Okay, so today is Thursday, the 19th of June. We had employment change on AUD that came out around 2:30 a.m. and it came out lower than expected. Just last month, we had a good employment change with the actual coming out greater than forecast, but in this case, it came out lesser, signifying to us that the economy, the AUD economy, Australian economy is not doing as good as it should. And what happens when we have a situation where the actual ought to be greater than to strengthen that currency and it comes out less than, then you're going to be seeing some weakness. So in this case, you can tell why we're seeing more sales of this particular asset class AUD. Going to Forex, for FIBIS, that's Forex performance, you're also going to see that it looks like everybody is currently dumping the risk assets. The risk assets are the NZD and the AUD, right? So it's currently looking like a dump of risk assets. Give me a second while I pull that up. This is the daily, still refreshing, but right now the dollar seems to be the strongest and AUD and NZD are the weakest. What do we want to do as traders at every point in time? You always want to pair a strong and a weak, and also have more knowledge of fundamentals that backs your technical analysis or your indicator usage, right? Remember, what moves this market primarily is not just what we share on technicals, it is also what we see from fundamentals as well. All right, so I'm going to resolve that.
Your
you
screen,
can see it now.
Can you see your chart? We can't see your chart too.
Can you see it now? Can you please confirm?
You're still on FinVis. You need to switch your chart.
Okay, apologies for that. I'm going to quickly go back to Forex Factory and show you what I was talking about. I was laying emphasis on the news release that came out on AUD. You can see it here. It came out by 2:30 a.m. on employment change. And what we usually want to see on this news release is the actual. You can see right here, actual greater than forecast. And when we have an actual coming out greater than what was forecasted, you can now see strength going into that asset class. But in this case, we're expecting the actual to come out greater to see some strength in AUD. However, it came out lower than, and this coming lower than is basically telling you that the change in the number of employed people during the previous month was different. Last month, we had them coming out higher than expected. This month, they dipped. So a sign that people are not so employed in an economy just shows you some sort of weakness, right? And that this makes sense why we're seeing AUD currently selling. We're seeing more selling pressure on AUD USD as an asset class. I also went further to look at Forex performance to see what this is doing as at today, right? Now you can see that the best performing asset class today is the dollar. Dollar seems to be gaining strength, and then AUD and NZD are currently being dumped. So it looks like investors are dumping the risky assets and gradually moving into safe haven assets, right? That is what we're seeing here. So having this in mind, and you're seeing what every other person is doing, because this calculates what the market is doing at this particular point in time, it now shows you that there may be possibility that AUDUSD will keep selling a bit longer. I hope that makes sense. So it's a combination of fundamentals and technicals. We're currently in a time where technicals may not even hold as much because we have a lot of policies and different fundamental events that are creating a lot of chaos in the market. So you want to keep an eye out on fundamentals. For those of you who do not know what platforms to check, go on Forex Factory, go on Forex Performance, Forex Live. These are all platforms you can use to track the fundamental news releases that are coming out. And if you don't know how to translate these different news releases, focus on Forex Live. They give headings and explanations of the different events that come out, okay? Okay, so now that we now have a bias for AUDUSD backed by fundamentals, let's shift into NZDUSD. Now, remember we saw on Forex Performance, NZD being one of the lowest moving asset classes. Back to our chart. Please confirm you can see my chart before I proceed.
Yes, I can see it.
Perfect, thank you. So NZDUSD on the H4 time frame now. Same thing, it's been buying for a very long time, since what, January. It's been buying. It tanked sometime in April, but continued the buy structure. And we saw this sunshine printed, profit taking, expected the retracement down below. Coming to H1 time frame now, you can see that price validated our first point of interest that we marked out, and it is now currently on the second point of interest. So am I going to be buying NZUSD at this particular point in time? Remember that in as much as we're seeing selling pressure, you could see retracement, temporary retracement that provide buy opportunities, right? So if that's going to happen and I'm seeing this, am I going to be taking a temporal buy on NZUSD? I might, provided it meets my confirmation entry. If it doesn't, I'm going to keep waiting till what I need to see is printed clear as day on the chart. As one of my colleagues would always say, if it is not obvious, it is dubious. We don't want to force ourselves into the market. You want it to come to you. I hope that makes sense. So NZUSD now, M5 time frame. I've seen what price is doing on H1. It has retested a key level, or it has tested, just tipped into that key level. Is it going to hold? Let's look at M5. On the M5 time frame, I'm marking out the same thing that I did on AUDUSD. That is yesterday's high. Going to drag this into today's price movement. Yesterday's high and low have been marked out. I'm also going to mark out day before yesterday's high, which is right here. Drag it into today's price movement and day before yesterday's low. So day before yesterday's low and yesterday's low seems to be in confluence. Okay, no, we're going to have to adjust yesterday's low. This is not the precise point. So I'm going to move that a bit upward. Just use a new tool. This was the lowest point of yesterday, right here. So on M5 time frame, all of what could have served as support, all of these levels we're marking out on M5 are basically support and resistance zones where we could see possible previous support acting as current resistance and vice versa. But now these levels have been broken below. So now that I see that they've been broken below, I'm going to be waiting. It's giving even more confirmation that the sell movement seems to be what is heavily in flow. So where am I going to be interested in taking a sell of NZUSD? I would wait for price to retrace back into this previous support or resistance and give me a confirmation. And if price comes in and doesn't, there's also the pullback. This is a magnet that pulls price to itself. So I'm looking at points of interest 1, 2, and also my trend. For the sake of those who are not the students of the VFT Academy, I'm going to call out the price point so you can look at that on your naked chart as well. So first POI on M5 is 0.60075. Second point of interest is 0.60167. The third point of interest is now here. This is a zone and not a specific price point. It's a zone. So you can mark out that on your chart. It's somewhere between 0.60409 to 0.60355. Now, these are the different levels I'm watching out for. Price should retrace into those zones and give me confirmations, and I will be taking sales on NZUSD. Again, provided confirmation entries are met. Okay, so finally, I'm going to quickly rush through USDCAD for the sake of time. We're looking at USDCAD on the H4 time frame. And similar to what we did on AU and NU, we marked out certain points on Tuesday that we wanted to see if it would hold, right? So price has been selling for a while. We marked out zones we expected it to retrace into, so we could continue to sell. Remember, at every point in time, you want to sell high, buy low. So even if certain situations give you a sell opportunity, if you did not catch the move from early on, it's going to make your stop loss so wide. And if your return on that particular trade is not going to be worth it, there's no point taking it. That was one of the major reasons why we stood out of this trade. But now we're looking at this. Sunshine has been printed on H4, profit taking has occurred. I'm expecting price to sell a bit downward. H1, what am I looking at? Same thing. So where is it going to sell into? These lines are still very much valid, and I'm not going to be withdrawing any new points of interest on USDCAD because the previous zones we marked out are very, very much valid. So I'm expecting USDCAD to sell, and it's going to sell into the first level that could act as some sort of support that will cause a bit of tussle, right? And that's 1.36816. So this is where I'm expecting it to sell into first. If it sells into this zone and is able to break below this zone, it's coming for momentum. And if it breaks below momentum, we could be seeing a sell continuation of USDCAD heavily. However, if price sells back into the zone and this support level holds, this is what we're going to be seeing precisely. We're going to see a temporary sell into the zone and then a buy continuation from here all the way back into the trend. Okay, so M5 time frame. I'm going to mark out what I did on the two asset classes and just wait to see what price does. We're not marking out these points of interest so that we can go and be staring at our charts like we're roasting corn. No, you could set alerts on TradingView around those levels and go about your day. And when price gets around those ones, you're going to be notified. So you can now look at the chart and take advantage of that. So yes, day before yesterday's high, yesterday's low has been marked out. Finally, I'm going to mark out yesterday's high and day before yesterday's low. Pay attention only to those that I drew into today's price action. You can see the period separates on the chart. So I have now marked out day before yesterday. I'm going to mark out yesterday's high. Perfect. So we're expecting temporal sales of USDCAD, right? These are the 5-minute points of interest that could serve as levels where we see reactions or tussles. I'm looking at USDCAD selling though. I think it's going to break below this zone and it's going to trade at the very least somewhere to 1.36143. I will keep watching. Okay, I also know that there are some of us who are totally new to trading and might be a bit confused by the terms I'm using during the course of this analysis. That's fine, we're all there at some point. What you want to do is to send a message to us on WhatsApp and let us get you enrolled on one of our trainings, the Forex Bootcamp course, where we teach different strategies and different ways that all the traders on the floor trade. Everything is encompassed in that one course for a one-time fee. So make sure you take advantage of that, send a message, and let's guide you through, all right? If you have any questions, this will be the perfect time to ask before we proceed into the second half of today's analysis. If this was helpful to you as well, please do also leave an emoji for me in the chat box. Hi, Anne. Anne is one of our students. Good morning, ma'am. All right, perfect. Okay, so thank you so much for sticking around to this point. Mr. Shea, it's been a while since I saw you. Destiny. This Destiny sounds familiar. I think it's one of our students as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so thank you for sticking to this point. Please do not go anywhere. We'll be back in less than 1 minute to continue today's business and give you even more value. Remember, you can check our YouTube page for the recaps of these live sessions that we have. Simply search up value flow trading and you'll see us check the live session. There's also a free course on our YouTube page as well for the sake of those of us who are totally new to trading. Okay, the WhatsApp number is 081 60 99 50 30. So I've dropped it in the chat box as well. 081 60 99 50 30. Send us a message and let's talk. All right, so thank you for joining. With that being said, cheers, God bless. Do not go anywhere, we'll be back shortly. Bye.
Hello everyone and welcome to the second part of the market color this morning. How are we doing? Hope we're good, hope we are fine. All right, in the second part of the market color, we'll be looking at the US market, we'll be looking at the US30, US100, and also S&P 500, right? Seeing how those markets are behaving this morning and how we can take opportunity of them. A lot of things has been happening in the background, right? From Israel and Iran war, to other important, things happening in the economic landscape. We have seen that the war has been very, very dramatic in the sense that Trump is sitting on the fence, saying that he may and he may not, intervene in the war. And as I think yesterday or 2 days ago, he also said something really, really very striking, implying that the supreme leader of the Iran nation is an easy target. And that statement means so many things as it relates to the stock markets and forex markets and the international market, because saying that means he can be easily taken out. We've known US not to be to isolate themselves, right, and then do more of proxy war, fight through nations to attack other nations. However, this statement is implying that they might directly want to enter into this war, which also Iran has strongly advised them not to, right? So it's all of this situation has made the market a bit calm. Investors are waiting and watching for what will happen, right? Because you don't want to be taking on risks, especially when there are situation of war, when there are war cases in around, right? And these are serious, serious battles, right? So we've been seeing a sell-off across board, and we mentioned that even technically speaking from Tuesday, right? We mentioned that, and then we got some trade opportunity that we took advantage of, which we also discussed a bit of them. That was on Tuesday, 2:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 in the morning, and then 2 p.m. in the afternoon, right? But today, let's look shortly at the market itself and see what technicals are doing across board for US30, S&P 500, and the Dow Jones, Nasdaq, sorry. All right. It is really, really interesting to know that President Trump can be very, very unstable. Should I say unstable? Unstable is not the word. Unpredictable, right, in his approach. And that's a really, really great concern. What we've been seeing so far so good is the oil prices has been rallying to the upside, which is good for especially for a country like Nigeria, right? Because we are petrodollar economy. But then in the landscape, apologies, I'm trying to configure my trading view. All right, we are back. We are back, and let's look at the chart on the daily time frame. What do we see here? Like I said on Tuesday, sorry, I said clearly that this market is looking very, very bearish, right? It's beginning to give us that bearish sign because as at the last time we were looking at this, all right, apologies for that break. I believe we're back. Hear me loud and clear, right? So like I mentioned, I said last time we were looking at this market, we wanted to see a break above this zone, right? We are very, very optimistic about the market. Wanted to see a break above this zone and want to see that the market give us that bullish push to the upside. However, that has not been the case so far the past 1 week, right? Instead, we've been seeing the market struggling. The first time it came here, sold off. The second time, the third time, right? It also came here, did as though it was going to start, pushing to the upside. And I was very optimistic because I know for a fact that if we see that bullish candle, especially on the higher time frame, a very solid bullish candle, all we have to just do is wait for a retest, and then price is going to, continue that rally to the upside. However, just days after we did the analysis, the war started. The war broke out again, and we've seen the market struggling to adjust to this, which makes a lot of sense. And I believe that's why our bias on buying US30 and S&P 500, also Nasdaq might want to take a pause for now while we trade what the market is currently doing. Right? Overall, we are still bullish that it is going to rally, but then the current theme of the market is suggestive of the fact that we should do the opposite. Right? So that being said, let's look at the 4-hour time frame. We mentioned yes on Tuesday that the market was giving us a very clear entry here for a sell, right? Box pattern, a sweep, a break to the downside. Let me put it on 2-hour, and then probably we can see it better. A sweep to the upside, a break to the downside, a return to this shoulder, and then what happened? We saw a sharp drop, right? And I told us that I was already on this trade, and it gave us a good 1:3. That's on US30, on US100 and S&P 500. I'm going to go to those pair, right? But on US30, look at this, a sweep break, and then sharp drop to the downside, giving us a very good, risk to reward system, risk to reward, trade, right? And then what happened next? We saw that price also rejected from this zone. This was on Monday, Sunday market open, right? This was a very good zone that we were expecting price to come before now, right? We have marked out this zone for those that watch, that have been following market color. Probably you want to wind back to April, right? We had this zone marked out. Clearly, the price is going to bounce off from this zone and start pushing to the upside, which it eventually did, right? Although that was from market open, and if you're not actually on the chart, being an active trader, you might not, see this trade to even take it, because immediately the market opened, it started rallying to the upside. So we saw that happen, and then what happened next? Price to rally to the upside and then started selling off because of the current theme we have in this market. And if that is the case, we might want to do what? We might want to just, stay with what the market is doing rather than trying to force a buy to the upside, which is very, very tricky at this zone, right? On the 1-hour time frame, what's the market doing, or what has the market done? We saw under, clear-cut kind of box pattern again, but then it's not really clear on the higher time frame, on the 1-hour time frame, and also on US30. It's more clearer on US100 and also S&P 500. I'm going to go into those pair now, and then we'll look at it technically, right, using technical analysis. But for today, what is happening so far, this will have been a very good box pattern, but then we didn't see price sweep through this zone. And you know the rule already. When it comes to box pattern, you want to see like a clear sweep of market structure and a break to the downside before you take any trade, or break to the upside, break of structure to the upside. Without these two factors, we don't want to engage the market. That's like a rule we have already when it comes to trading the box pattern. All right, that being said, for today, this looks like a box pattern, but then there was no break, there's no sweep of structure, although there's a break. So for that reason, we won't be, taking this trade. Instead, we want to wait for other opportunities from US100 and also from S&P 500. I believe those guys are going to give us the trade call or setup that we want or that we need. All right, let's move to US100 very quickly, and then we'll start discussing from there. On US100, you can see here it's a very clear cut trade call that we have this morning. That was 2 days ago, not this morning. That was 2 days ago, and very beautiful trade call, right? In the sense that price swept through this zone, and then we had a clear break of structure to the downside, and then a return to that zone. If you check on the 30 minutes, you see fair value gap. Oh, beautiful. See a fair value gap and another block. Price tapped into that zone and then sold off, right? Sold off. That's the first variation of box pattern. And then came back again, used this zone as a grab of liquidity, structural liquidity for those that are familiar with that concept. And then what happened next? We saw that price sold off again, right? Sold off. I exited around here, give me a good risk to reward of 1:3, right? A good risk to reward of 1:3. around this zone. If you just do a quick, okay, somewhere around there, 1 to 3, and then price immediately reversed. 1 to 3, where is it? Quite interesting. 1 to 3, sure. Around somewhere around here, right? For me, I came out of this trade somewhere around here on my brokerage platform because of the price difference in price, right? That's why we're unable to, get the exact, figure here, right? But I remember risking 1,000 and then closing at 3,000, right? That's a risk to reward of 1:3. All right. So we have this that the market has done so far, so good. And then look at this again, another box pattern, a sweep of this zone, break to the downside, price came back into the fair value gap. You can even consider all of this an order block, and then did what again? Sold off again, right? So the market has been repeating itself, the same pattern for the past 2 days now, right? Which is very, very unlikely, but because of the war that has been happening, I'm going to bomb your airports, I'm going to bomb your nuclear facility, I don't want you to have nuclear plants and all of these things. Market has been really, really dicey. So for me, I'm very, very big on sales for now, right? Until we see a clear-cut tweet from Mr. President, that's from White House, to say, okay, these people have called me to compromise, to negotiate a deal, or they're accepting the deal. In fact, he was saying that he doesn't want any form of partial surrender. He wants a total surrender. You either take the deal or you are crushed. So if we have something that that is suggestive of the fact that Iran supreme leader might want to come to the negotiation table again, then we will now begin to change our bias, right? And then or something really significant happen. Maybe they wipe out a major significant a part of Israeli army. I don't know if that's possible, or the reverse happens. If one of those major stuff happen that calms the war, then we can start looking at the market again, because this is just common sense. Sometimes when there's a war, you don't want to do business except you're the one supplying the guns, supplying the bombs, right? And in this case, what is rallying to the upside? Oil, right? Oil prices are rallying to the upside because Iran is an oil producing nation, right? So it makes sense to trade oil now rather than trying to trade other assets. And all right, that being said, this morning, what are we looking at? On the 1 hour time frame, I wish this happened already, and then price tapped into this other block to sell to the downside. So we're waiting for another sweep of liquidity from which we would want to now take trades to the upside again, right? As it is now, there isn't any sweep of liquidity available, right? There's not any sweep of liquidity available for now. So I just want to wait, and with that, we might get a good setup. I'm trying to look at the market again to see if there's anything significant. No, nothing significant for this morning, right? What will have taken advantage of was yesterday, when price tapped into this and then got this sell-off around this zone. But then for this morning, really nothing really strong per se, except probably by 2 in the afternoon. That's 2 p.m. in the afternoon, we get a setup that is very good. All right. So that being said, let's move quickly to S&P 500. S&P 500 at almost the same analysis with what's it called? US100. That's the Nasdaq, right? Also the same thing. A sweep. We had this very beautiful break here. Price tapped into this liquidity zone, right? Cleared off liquidity here and then sold off to the downside, which is really good, right? So we got this trade call from. In fact, I had my US30, US100, and S&P 500 charts side by side. So I just humanly speaking now, I thought US100 was going to lead this sell-off that happened, right? Because usually it's faster and then move volatile. But then S&P 500 really sold, right? Really sold faster than even Nasdaq, and then delivered its own 1:3 earlier than Nasdaq. I had to wait and be patient for NAS to do its own, but eventually it did, right? Which is the beauty of trading. Sometimes you think S&P 500 is going to be slow, and you see it leading the way, right? Another time you just see US30 leading the way, while the remaining two are just sluggish and unable to catch up. All right. So that being said, this morning also we just want to lay low for now. We want to get more price action, right? Let's more candlestick prints, and then with that we can now say, okay, we are beginning to look for actual trade opportunity to engage. For me, like I mentioned already, I'm very bearish for now, right? Pending where the war ends, right? Pending when the war ends, I'm still looking out for what's it called? Outcome, right? Solid outcome from the Chinese US, negotiation, right? I want to see solid outcome, because that's also a very major game that's happening on its own on the other side of the pendulum, right? Tariff war is there. Now we're having Israel and Iran. That's a two different game, right? One is affecting US directly, the other is just like a proxy, right? So those are like the situation of things this morning across the US market, and that will be the end of the analysis. I'll be going through the comment section just to see our thoughts, and then Silas is saying what's the repercussion for the market if it just blows up the nuclear power plants, hidden and just retreats, assuming Israel won't target US personally and economic interests or ally in the, of course, blow up power plants. You mean blowing up power plants? That would be a very, very huge rally. You see a very huge rally across US oil first. Gold might rally, fine and good, it can rally, but then you see US oil, because Iran is an oil producing nation, right? And they rank very, very high in the list. So we see oil prices skyrocket to the upside, right? And then there's no way to enter to really tap into other countries, stock market. But then you will see them trying to, because this is not the first time they're fighting this battle. That has been there for a long period of time. You see Israel bombing their scientists over and over again. New ones will come and they will still bomb them, assassin and all of these things, right? It's a tough war that has been around for, I think, more than 10 years now, if I'm not mistaken, right? So if there are companies that are trading, that are publicly listed, but then they can supply, probably, compounds, right? Compounds for nuclear weapon and all of those things, you can buy their stock and wait, because if this thing happen, this thing you just typed here happen, then you expect their share price to rally, because they're going to supply. That's another business. What is business, right? Just look at it from a business perspective. Who is supplying Iran their nuclear weapon, right? Proxy, China, right? Who is supplying Israel their own nuclear weapon? It's the US Army, right? So then there must be exchange of resources for that to happen, right? The other day I was reading through the news. I saw that the Iron Dome had some issues. They had to replace it with another one. That's billions of dollars going into that. So at the basic level, when you strip everything apart, war is business, war is profit, right? Because you're supplying the guns, you're supplying the nukes and all of those things. Mira is saying oil and gold. I believe you mean that oil and gold is going to rally, right? The upside once this begins to escalate, further escalate again. Adam is saying that please kindly help us send everything in the Telegram for we beginners, please, sir. God bless you, sir. Amen. So this is what you're going to do, right? This session is actually being recorded on YouTube, right? So on our YouTube channel, I'm going to just find a way to do it, and you would just go to the live session. This would be like the prevailing live video, right? So from there you can rewatch, and then anything you didn't understand after rewatching, you can send us a message, and then we would find a way to much explain it to you. Silas is saying reunion at the local area. I don't really understand though. Probably is me that didn't get the language. All right, thank you so much, guys, for joining this morning. This will be the end of the analysis for this morning. I believe it was helpful. Let me know if it was helpful in the comment section. Let me go through the chats. People online this morning. Jeff Peters, I greet you. Adams, I greet you. And Osaratin, I greet you. Ayeni Olusegun, good morning to you. Destiny, Edward, God's power, Gold. See you, sir. Joseph Mira Ode Oladipo. Oluwaseyoni. Good morning, sir. It's been a long, it's been a while. Page Exchange, I greet you. Silas, Temitope user, good morning to you. Hope you're good. All right, thank you so much. We'll meet again by 2 p.m. this afternoon, all right? And then we'll review our positions if, should in case anything has happened significantly, right? I believe we can look at that, and then with that, we would, be able to align our positions once again. I'm seeing some question. Mira is saying, sir, can you share the setup that is active in the morning on the Telegram group? For this morning, we have no active setup, like I mentioned, right? We are just very, very much bias is a sell, but then actual point of entry, we don't have a zone yet. We would have gotten one, but then there wasn't any strip of liquidity. And with the strategy we use on this asset class, we want to see strip of liquidity, then break of structure, then a return to those level to seek for either buys or sell. But for this morning, we've not seen that yet. So for that reason, we just want to lay low, especially on US30, S&P 500, and NAS100. You might see opportunity on other asset class, and I also take my time to look at other asset class to trade them if I don't get to see any opportunity here, right? And with that, I'm able to still make money. User is saying, please, how do one get to have one-on-one chat with you? You can reach me on Telegram at Demola Global, right? And if you're on the Market Color group, you can just search up Demola Global or VFT Demola, any one of them. You are going to just drop me a message. Once I see it, I'm going to respond back to you. All right.
Okay, so
for joining.
Hello, please. They don't allow me to send message
already.
on Telegram.
Wow. Some people.
They don't allow me to send message on Telegram, please. I've tried this
All
several
right. Thank you so much,
so
guys, for joining this morning. We'll reconvene again by 2 in the afternoon. Okay. And with that, we call it a wrap for today. Cheers and God bless everyone.